Hey, Tom here from Wholesale Camping. Just bringing you this short video today to show you what to take when you're heading on a 1 week long trek. So, if you're anything like me, by now the trek's upon you and you're getting pretty excited. You don't want to miss anything out and you want to make sure you've got everything that you need to make sure you have the best time possible whilst you're out in the wilderness. So just a few things we're going to go through today. First of all, we're going to look at what kind of clothes you need. So I like to think of it as a layering system. Try and have multiple layers, thinner layers, and that way you can thermoregulate much better, making sure you can either be warm if you need to, but also try and stay cool when you spend long days hiking and you start to build up some body temperature. So first of all, the first layer is going to be your kind of t-shirt. So I like to use lightweight merino t-shirts, or you can use some kind of wicking material. What this is going to do is again help with the thermoregulation. So this kind of material is great if it gets wet, you still stay warm, but also if you're sweating, then it's going to help wick the sweat away and dry very easily. Added bonus, tends to not smell quite so bad as your cotton t-shirts, which can get very heavy and very wet. So number two, you're going to bring your fleece. Fleece, again, this fleece here is pretty light but offers some good insulation properties. The one I have does have a wind protecting material on the outside, so on those windy days, again, it's great to try and keep you warm without weighing too much in the bag. Layer number three, you're looking at some kind of synthetic or down jacket. This kind of puffer jacket is really where your warmth and insulation is going to be coming from. It's good to bear in mind that when you are going on a trek, most often where you start is much lower altitude than where you're planning on going. As you start to climb, it's going to get much colder and you're going to be grateful that you've got all these layers to be able to put on to keep you warm, especially as the sun goes down and the night sets in. So number four is your shell or your outer. So for me, I like to take just a Gore-Tex or a Terex type material. Again, breathable, windproof, and most importantly, waterproof. Many different type styles, but the main thing is it's going to keep you dry for when the rain starts. Hopefully it doesn't, but if the rain does, kick in on your trek, then you're going to be nice and dry. So the next thing you want is your pants. For me, I don't like to wear cotton. Again, it gets very heavy, it gets very wet, and it's quite cumbersome. So these pants here are hiking type pants. They're very lightweight, which is great for in your bag, and the material is again wicking. So if it does get wet, it dries pretty quick, and it's also very good at maintaining your body temperature. So if you are sweating, it's going to wick the sweat away so you don't feel like you're walking in a puddle. Again, similarly to the top half, you want some waterproof trousers. You can get shell trousers, which you just put over the top of your other trousers, but for me, I like more waterproof trousers that have an inner. The reason I choose these kind of trousers is because, again, they can be used for extra layers for insulation. So they can be worn on their own if it's raining, or if it's cold, they can be put over the top of your other trousers, just to make sure that you're just even warmer. I also find the actual waterproof trousers are a little bit more breathable than the shell trousers. Yes, they are a little bit heavier and they do take up more weight, but I find them to be more comfortable and far more convenient. Okay, so once you get to your campsite for the night, no doubt all your clothes are going to be pretty sweaty and you want to get changed, so that's where your base layers come in. Again, I like to use these merino. As I said previously, very warm, whether they get wet or if you're sweating in them, they dry very quickly and they tend not to smell. Another good thing about bringing the long trousers on the top is if it is really cold, you can put them underneath to make a fifth layer on the insulation system. But ideally, I do like to try and keep them clean for that campsite chilling. Next, I always take with me a pair of shorts that can be doubled up as swimming trunks as well as just general kind of shorts, because if the weather's nice you might want to be in shorts, and who can resist a dip in an alpine lake? It's pretty cold, but it's definitely going to be worth it. And the fact they roll pretty small, again, you're not really going to notice them in your bag. So if you're planning on going swimming, you're obviously going to need a towel. Microfiber towel, small, very absorbent, dries super quickly. Doesn't take up much room in the bag, so it's a great addition to the hiking gear. Not only can it be used for swimming, but it can also be used to wash the face, dry the pots and pans, and so on. I like to take 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of pants when I'm going on a week-long trip. Yeah, you might think you need one for every day, but believe me, it's going to take up more room in your bag, and everyone else around you is going to be wearing pants for 2 days, and the same for the socks. So just embrace the nature. Again, if you really want to, you can turn them inside out, but again, for me, I just keep them on, change into my long johns at night, and put some clean socks on after 2 days. Socks wise, sport socks or some kind of hiking socks that are quite thick, have quite a supported heel, so those long days trekking, your heel's going to be grateful. Okay, so now we're on to the kind of extras and accessories. Gloves, just a small set of gloves. Again, these ones I have here are windproof, so they're quite small, but they do prevent the wind, which again in turn keeps you much warmer. The wind really sucks the heat from you if you're wet, so anything to kind of stop that is going to be beneficial. The baseball cap. So I always like to take a baseball cap with me as well as the woolly hat. The reason I like to take both is because you're going to experience both kinds of weather. Naturally, the baseball cap's good for shading the face if it's quite sunny, or keeping the hair out the eyes, and of course the woolly hat or the beanie is much better if it's a bit colder, or in the night time when the sun goes down and again you're relaxing around the fire. A few other things then. Your first aid kit, pretty essential. Although people in your group might have it, you may not be with them, they may get injured, and the more stuff you have for first aid, the better. Headlamp, good addition. Again, better as a headlamp than a torch, because you pop it on your head, you can eat your dinner, brush your teeth, wash your face, so on, look around the tent, do some reading while it's on your head. So I definitely think a headlamp is essential. Just make sure that when you are talking to people, you try not to blind them with the white light, so if you swap it to the red light at night, that's going to be much easier on the eyes, and your camper mates are going to be much more happy with you. Penknife, always useful. You can take a multi-tool or just a small penknife. It can be used for many things, few repairs, first aid, so on. Sunglasses, again, try to use them polarized. This is going to protect your eyes from the UV rays, and it's going to be much easier when you're hiking to look and take in the beautiful surroundings rather than squinting the whole time. And looks great in pictures. Right then, finally, toiletries. I like to put my toiletries separate in a plastic bag. Try and bring just exactly what you need for a week. You don't need to bring shampoo and soap enough for a month. Just try and siphon it off into small amounts for the trip. As a rule of thumb, I like to think about the guidelines that they use on aeroplanes, so keeping things to a minimum is quite a good way to keep things down without carrying stuff that you're never going to use. So in there I have a sun cream, essential, always wants to be easy accessible, and try and get a high SPF if you can. Final thing I like to take with me is 2 water bottles. The reason I choose 2 water bottles is because the first one, just a normal water bottle you can fill up from the tap or perhaps a mountain stream. And the second one I like to bring, just to make sure, is one with a filter in. So the filter just makes it much easier to stay hydrated. So if you do not have access to water that you consider to be clean, or you're unable to boil it, then the filter is going to save you. Okay, so there we have it. That's what I like to take on a 1 week long trek. One thing to bear in mind is this is great for trekking if you're not going at the extremes. If you're going in the middle of winter, you're probably going to want something a little bit more insulated, and again in summer maybe you could get rid of one of the layers. And one more thing to remember on a hike is the size of bag you want to take. For me, for 1 week long, I like to try and keep my bag between 50 and 65 litres. When I'm packing everything in the bag, I try not to take any more than between 10 and 12 kilos. A lot of this does depend whether I'm going to be carrying my own sleeping bag, sleeping mat, cooking equipment, such as stove, gas, pots and pans, food, so on. But just remember that you are going to be carrying it for a week, so you want to try and keep it as low as possible. Thank you, and that's the video for what to take when you're camping. And if you head to www.wholesalecamping.co.uk, we can hit you up with some supplies and drop us a line, and we can always give you more advice. Thanks.